contract among
Hi,
ourselves
it's
that
Jehovah's Laws.
recognize God
I'd like you to listen to
as the
Pat's
author
testimony.
of our liberty. Western civilization used to be called Christendom, and the Ten Commandments and the Sermon on the Mount were the foundations of the moral law that governed our conduct. And we had a social contract among ourselves that recognized God as the author of our liberties, and then from that ordered liberty based on the Ten Commandments. But in today's society in America, there has been a war against the Ten Commandments, and I was beginning to think why we accept that as the foundation. Well, the Supreme Court said, no, you will take it out of your schools. Lower courts are now saying, no, take it out of your public places. And just recently, a federal judge who happened to be a more recent Yale law graduate ordered the Supreme Judge of the Supreme Court of Alabama to take a Ten Commandment plaque out of the courthouse of the Supreme Court of Alabama. Why? What is the offense of them? Well, I showed you. Number one, commandment number one is no other gods. And that meant that Jehovah, the God of the Bible, was supreme, and there would be no other God. We would worship no other God than Him because He's the supreme God. And the second thing, there would be no idols. We wouldn't make idols and fall down and worship them, because God says, I'm a spirit, and you're not going to worship me by setting up a bull or a calf or a snake or a goat or another human being or the sun or the moon or a fish and say that's God. He said, you will not make any idols. You won't make an idol of a human being, and you won't make an idol of anyone else. So we're not to have idols. Well, there are many religions who say, I worship, in Hindus, 1,000,000 gods. The Muslims worship Allah, not Jehovah. No idols. The Muslims do not believe in idolatry, but the Hindus have all kinds of idols, and people are coming to America from all over Asia and South America, but particularly in Africa as well, where they have various types of gods. They have made little idols, and they're household gods, and they worship them. There was a time before World War II, the Japanese worshipped the emperor. They thought he was God. And they have statues of ancestors, and they worship ancestors, and they have little shrines for ancestors. God said, don't do that. You'll have no idols. And then the next thing He said, you will basically respect my name. And what's His name? Well, His name is Jehovah, or Yahweh, Yehovah. And that means the word Jehovah is from the Hiphil of the verb to be, which means I am. And you see, the real God can't be identified. And His name says, I am that I am, because I am the ground of all being. And so He says, thou shalt not take my name in vain. Now, first of all, the Old Testament referred to the idols as vanities. So you won't take these vanities and attach them to the name of God. You won't say that some snake is Jehovah. You won't denigrate Him by doing that. But the other thing you won't do, of course, is use His name for vanity. You won't speak His name as a curse word. And you hear people today who say God this and God that, and then God damn this, and command God.
Phew. Don't take His name in vain. Keep His commandments holy. Exodus chapter 20. Commandments. Chapter 20, page 111. King James says it like I showed you. Keep them holy. Or, if you don't have time, then at least another quick version. So in case you're skydiving and are about to crash into the ground, say them quickly. No other gods, no graven image, no such and in the Father, and like your life come. hit a tree and I'm alive. Thank goodness. Thank you, God. It could save your life. Don't leave home without the commandments. And I'm the world's greatest commandment speaker. No one else even comes close. If you do come close, then come, let's practice together on YouTube. Come, Israel. Come. That would be wonderful. To practice the only law together, rather than remove it from our Supreme Courts. Let's practice it. Let's magnify it. Magnifying's better than removing, isn't it? Let's magnify God's law. So, if you wish to be good, how are you going to be good without God's law, His 10 Commandments? That was God who appeared before Moses as the spiritual rock that followed after him. And they all drank from that spiritual rock that followed them. And that rock was Christ. And I'm also following after him. No other gods, no graven image, no take name in vain. Remember Sabbath day. Honor father and mother. No kill, adultery, steal, lie, or covet. Indeed. There's a quick version for you. But I prefer the holy version. The one that God the Father himself wrote on Mount Sinai 3,500 years ago. In stone on both sides of each tablet. 2 tablets. So, how many people are not scared to come challenge me in the only good words? If you think you're righteous, then go ahead and write his commandments down with a pen that they were scared to use and write his name. And see what happens. See if he comes unto you. He's come unto me already. And he said, you really do know those very well, don't you? Yes, I do know them very well. Go ahead, Douglas. You can safely say. So he said, I can safely say, I do know them very well. I wrote them on a door, the whole commandment page one time. So I do indeed know them very well. Forwards or backwards. Or just pick one of the 10 Commandments. Or just pick a chapter of the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5 through 7. Or 7 through 5. Or just pick a chapter. Or just pick a commandment. I know them equally well. Just as Pat Robertson had said in his Offense of the 10 Commandments sermons. Keep his commandments and his servant holy. Thank you, world.